for me. Do you remember?
You're up.
Marissa is an actress, so she memorized. Marissa is an actress, so she memorized what I said before the sound came up. So she's going to now do it for you.
Okay.
As me.
Well, yeah, no, Seth, it's actually not Valentine's Day. Okay.
Okay. No, we're not allowed to do that. We got in trouble so early in the stream. All right. So anyways, we're talking about shooting with a single light today. We're going to keep it real simple. Now, what we want to consider when we're lighting is like, why do you use a bunch of lights besides being able to charge more, right? There's reasons for that, right? We're creating shape, we're doing zones of lighting, all the things we talk about a lot. So when you just have one light, you really want to consider what is your final result? And that's going to really make it important on which modifier you choose, where you place your subject, and where you place the light, because you're going to be using the single light, basically like the inverse square law and how much fall off the light has and all the stuff that we're going to talk about to get the set to look the way you want. So let's just start off with, what do we have up there?
No, you guys didn't miss much. You're just really bad jokes about being single.
Yeah. You missed the best jokes of the year. All right. So I am, but people who are just joining, I should at least say, this is Marissa. Seth's over here on the Mighty Mix. I'm Daniel, so if you came in late, or if you missed the first part.
You really have 2 lights on, dude.
Right. I can't remember anymore. I'm sorry. Oh, even if you have one light. No, I can't do it anymore. I lost my thing. It's okay. You should know that I don't do the same demo over and over again. And it's not because I'm like too proud. It's because I can't remember what I did. So, each one's unique. All right. So we're going to talk about shooting with one light. Like I said, we want to think about a few things here. Like, what is like the purpose of our light? What kind of mood do we want to get? What kind of, let's just do it. I'm just doing it today. Today I'm a man of action. So I also decided today to start off with one of my favorite light sources, as a treat for you guys, since it's Valentine's Day. Sorry, online, you missed the whole Valentine's thing. This is a pretty interesting light source, and it's a really good light source if you're only going to have one because of how it operates, and that is the lantern. So a lantern, I already built it over here, so you didn't have to watch the awkward 20 minutes of me trying to build this thing. You don't ever want to build one of these things if you're in a rush. Okay, so basically what a lantern light does, they're used a lot in filmmaking. This is a cover on the back. Basically, you've got light in pretty much all directions, right? So let's say you were shooting 2 people sitting we're not doing this, but let's say, because we don't have 2 people, but let's say we were shooting 2 people sitting at a table, we could place this between them and above, right? And we would get light in all directions. But it's great for a single person for exactly that reason. This is going to feel natural if we put it up above, because it's just going to light the space generally, right? But we can control it. It's not going to be this like bad overhead light. So let's put this on our light stand. Actually, let's do something different. We're getting crazy. No, I'm going to use the same modifier, but my back's been hurting me, so I don't feel like using a sandbag, so I'm not going to put it up. No, I'm going to eventually put it up over the air, but what we're going to do with this is we're just going to point it right directly at Marissa. So let's say that you had a lantern like this, and this little piece comes off. Lots of Velcro there. It's good for the microphone. So like I say, all your light's going to come everywhere. Now, when you're looking at your light source, right, like this, we're going to have, light here, light to the background, light forward, obviously, right? In fact, similar to a shoot-through umbrella, by the way it comes forward, right? We're going to get lots of light at the bottom. So we can actually take this single lantern light and actually create kind of just a nice, simple portrait. I said simple twice, so there you go. That must be true. With it. I know. I forgot the first thing. Akiva's leaving to make me feel bad. When people walk out, that makes me feel bad. Wow, he left me, after all these years of being friends. Okay, so number 1. We are going sideways. Let's start off by getting ourselves set up in such a way that we know what we're doing with our light. So when we are in a space, and this is what I had said before before the sound came on, when you're in a space, and even if you only have one light, you really have 2 lights. You have the light that's here, right? And then plus the light you bring to it, right? So if we are here and we want to only light with a single light, because that's what a demo is, and you guys came for that, we need to eliminate this light. And oftentimes, you won't be able to just turn it off. You can't turn off the sun, right, if you're outside. You might, if you're in an office building with overheads that are controlled by some major switch that comes on, like you can't turn that off, right? If you're shooting in this store, they're not gonna let you turn all the lights off. So we need to set our camera so that none of the light in the space affects our shots. That's the very first step to any of this. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna set our camera. This is a Nikon Z6 II, or 3 rather. I'm gonna have a 2 soon. We're gonna set it at the lowest ISO within the normal range because we're trying to remove light from the scene, right? We're gonna set it at the fastest shutter speed that it syncs normally. There is something called high-speed sync, but we're just not gonna get into that because not every camera has it, not every light system has it, so just to keep it simple. So for this camera, that's 200th of a second. Then we're gonna set our aperture, right, the third part of the exposure triangle, basically so that we have what we're gonna call a black frame. That is that we'll get no exposure. So in here, because I've been here a few times before, it's somewhere around 7.1. So I'm gonna take a shot at those settings, and what we should get, in theory here, we got a capture one over here, is a black frame, right? This black frame represents effectively the shadow, right? The dark. Now, if you want to see how much leniency you have here, how much you can move around, we can look in our adjustments and we can, I don't know, I have that open. We can grab our exposure slider. I'm just going to slide it over till we start to see skin tone, somewhere around there. And we're about 3 stops underexposed, okay? So what that means is that we have 3 stops of movement before we hit the shadows. So we can get nice, rich images with deep, dark shadows without having infiltration from the light in the space. Because again, we're in this beautifully lit set, right? But you might be in a terrible office lighting, right? With fluorescence or something. So now that we have that set up, we're gonna turn our light on, which is right here. This is a ProPhoto B10X Plus. And I have a remote on top. We're gonna use TTL metering. So people often say, why don't you use a meter? And the thing is when you're using TTL, you are using a meter, using a meter in your camera. So with my camera set at its normal kind of matrix metering, the kind of the all-around metering that favors center, well, I guess that's center width, this kind of all-around metering, I'm just gonna leave it and let's see what the camera thinks the exposure should be, the camera combined with the light. So we're gonna take a shot. That felt like a lot of light. Oh yeah, there she is. All right. Thanks, guys. Next week, we're going to do... No, okay, we'll keep going. Look at that. Sharp. Hey, listen, this is 2026. It's sharp and it's fast. That's all we care about. No, so we have this really soft light. Now, remember, but the thing above, the shot above, is what you get when there's no lights, which means everything that's in this shot, all this beautiful light that's on Marissa, was created by this one lantern, right? Really simple, really soft. And one thing I like about this light is even though she's relatively close to the wall, right? We're in a small space. So we can add that also to the title of this. Lots of subtitles, shooting in a small space. There's a shadow on the wall, right? What do I get for a question? Okay, go.
Maybe this is a stupid question, but how do you get the focus right when you can't see what you're doing because it's a black frame?
Okay, so how do I get the focus right when I can't see what I'm doing because it's a black frame? That is a fantastic question. So I'm using a mirrorless camera, right, as a lot of people do today, and there's a setting in the camera that will do effectively a simulated exposure. That is, it would be black when I'm looking through it, but I have that turned off. Or you can think of it as the other way. I have turned on that doesn't happen. So when I'm looking through the back of the camera, which I'll show you right now, because I can do that with the technology that we have here. So this is what I see through the back of the camera, right? So I can see her, right? Plus I used autofocus because, I cheated. That's how we do things around here. So this is actually important because if you have this setting turned on and you're using a flash, right? Because this is something you'll use when there's a flash only, right? You might look at that and be like, wow, there's lots of light in here because it's faking it for us. So I actually have a custom function set on my camera, which you can do to turn off that exposure simulation. And when I press that button on my camera, that's the real exposure. See the black? So that way I can go, okay, I can see the focus. This is what it really looks like. Okay, because I'm turning off the flash. Does that make sense? Yeah. And that's a really good question because it's important, right? Like, how do you see when it's, believe me, I've dealt with that with ND filters. Question in the chat. I think you've answered this before. I probably have. I've answered all questions. No. Oh, no. It's better to use spot metering instead of matrix. Okay, so what kind of metering do you want to use when you're using a camera like this and you're using TTL? Do you want to use spot? Do you want to use center weighted? Do you want to use matrix metering? That all sounds fancy and sophisticated, but basically, think about it like this. If you use your camera normally out in the world with available light or with even with constant lights, what metering system works best for you? That's what you should use, right? So if you're in a situation where spot metering would work better with available light, use it for the flash. So in this case, matrix was fine because I'm shooting a subject that's going to be recognizable. The camera's not going to be thrown off by a bunch of other things going on. She's not like, her face and then like an entirely like super bright colors or like super, let's say all white with a white background where it might throw it off, or all black or something like that. So matrix is fine. Obviously, once you make the shot, if you don't see the exposure you want, you can always adjust. But I tend to not do that. A lot of people like spot metering. I tend to not use spot metering with when using a flash.
There's also a lot of cameras now that even if you're in a matrix metering or evaluative setting, it prioritizes the face because it has facial recognition. So it's almost like a form of a soft spot metering.
Right. That's especially true because a lot of cameras will, and this is probably in addition to what you're talking about, you can set your spot meter to basically be at the focus point. So if you are focusing on the face, then you'll get a meter reading on the face. So you could definitely leave it in spot if that's how you like to shoot. I find matrix metering, which is the Nikon, like, I don't even know, it's evaluative in Canon. I don't know what they call it in Sony, but basically I find it to be really good. So, hey, if the meter works, why not? So we can see here that we have a nice soft image. So if you were going for kind of a flattering, soft, gentle light, we have a big-ish light source, right? It's actually a little bit lower than I normally would put it for some reason. It's kind of in front of her. I don't know why I put it lower than that. Marissa gets taller sometimes when we do a demo. She puts on like lifts. And it looks fine. Now, of course, when you're using a single light, that doesn't mean you can't cheat a little bit, and use something like this. This is a hand-wrought artisan reflector. You'll notice the 5 holes.
Those are speed holes.
Those are speed holes. They make the reflector work much better. We sell these out on the corner after the demo for $800. It's a piece of cardboard, right? It's white. So basically, we're just going to use this as a reflector. And we're just bouncing back some light to help the shadows get filled in a bit. And then we have kind of a nice, flat, even light, right? Question about white balance. Okay, let's see.
What's the best white balance to use in studio?
What is the best white balance to use in studio? Okay, so that is going to vary depending on your camera and your taste. If you really need accurate colors, I recommend photographing a color target and doing a custom white balance. Like let's say if you're doing something like a fashion shoot, right? If you're doing a portrait, you're going to get there we go. So basically what this is designed for is you photograph it and then you match these colors up. They're the specific colors that allow you to have completely accurate color. If you're doing a portrait though, sometimes you want the skin tone to be a little bit warmer or cooler depending on your style. You'll get used to different modifiers. So I generally set my camera at 5,000. Seth turned me on to that. Years ago, I switched over to this Nikon mirrorless, and I like it, right? The funny thing is, this Chimera, which I didn't tell you what this was, this is a Chimera lantern, is actually a little bit warm, right? So if you watch my demos normally, you probably notice that the skin tone's actually a touch warmer in this than normal. And that's because every modifier that you put your light through or that you bounce your light off of will affect the color, right? So if you are setting your white balance manually, you may need to change it depending on the modifier, right? This is why it's important when you're using multiple lights, which we aren't today because, it's single light, that you like kind of match up your modifiers, like maybe the same brand or whatever, so that way they all kind of work together color-wise. Theoretically, any like higher end professional stuff should all be the same color, but you might run into the problem that something like this one is a little bit older. So that's why it's actually a bit warm. That make sense so far? All right, we've taken 2 pictures so far. I started off with the easy one. So the lantern is really nice, right? But remember that just because you're using a big old bubble light that's nice and soft, you don't have to create this kind of flat light, which can be very nice, right? Flat light can be ugly, right? Flat light can be nice. Flat, when I say that, I mean kind of even without much shadow, right? So if I take my on-camera flash and I blast it in Marissa's face, it'll probably be flat, right? All the shadow will just go flying back. That's generally ugly, right? This is soft, right? Because it's large. It's creamy or diffuse because it's got really nice fabric on it. And it is also flat because of the nature of the light. So you see the difference there? You can have different types of light. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this the way that kind of they're normally used, which is hanging it overhead. It's one of my favorite ways to use the lantern. I'm gonna put a sandbag on it so the sandbag police don't come. They get upset. When you're using a C-stand like I am, make sure you put the sandbag over the big leg and make sure the weight also goes out over the big leg. That's important. This only takes like 20, 30 minutes for me to set this up, so just kind of hang out for a minute. I got it. Well, you know, every once in a while I have to do something for myself. All right. Now, one important thing that you want to know, right? Especially if you want to be a professional photographer here. Always turn the brand towards the audience. This is super important. You can zoom in on that. Make sure they know this is what I'm using. All right.
You're not getting sponsored.
I'm not getting sponsored, unfortunately. So Shamira, by the way, and I know somebody is in the chat right now going, it's Chimera. They pronounce it Shamira. Shamira is basically the company that created or invented this style of softbox, the portable softbox. There was a couple of friends, and they were mountaineers, hikers or whatever, and they saw how the tents were assembled with the poles, and they created the first softbox. There you go, little lesson. Do you guys like that segment? I'll start adding it to all the...
A little lesson during a class.
A little lesson during...
Groundbreaking, Dan, really amazing.
Now, I've always found that when you're making any photos of somebody, it's best that when they can't see you. You just block yourself. They can't see me. I can see them. I'm looking through the camera. So now I've got it kind of in front of her, right? And just above eye level or right at eye level with the center of the light. So I'm going to have Marissa look towards me. We're going to make it a little bit more of like a beauty shot. So I'll zoom in a little bit. So, okay. And here we go. She's going to look towards me and boom. Okay. Now, right? Creamy, soft, even, but with nice direction because it's closer to her, right? The fall off is a little bit more dramatic, but you can't really notice it as much because I've set it up so that the shadow is under her chin, which is very flattering, right? This is a great setup for most people. It's a beauty setup usually, right? But with a big box like this, it's kind of gentle, right? A lot of times with beauty lighting, we'll use a smaller source, so it'll be punchier, right? We'll get a lot more texture. But here, you know, Marissa's been out partying. We don't want to really show. So you can see how smooth her skin tone is there. I don't need AI to fix the skin. I have light, right? This is how we operate. All right, so again, special reflector. Okay, fill in if you want. I kind of like the shadow, but if you like that better, you know, more power to you. It's a little hot, but I'm okay with that. I'm glad you didn't call that out. Nobody in the audience was like, that's too hot, Daniel. No. It's a little hot. If you find yourself shooting and it's a little bit bright and you're using TTL and you're doing a portrait and things aren't really changing, it's simple enough just to switch off TTL, so basically to manual, and then I can look at the exposure and I can turn it down a little bit. Right now, my power of my light, because everybody seems to always want to know that, is at 6.9. I'm going to turn it down to 6.7, which is my favorite aperture. All right, there we go. Right now that's 6 point. You see, you know it's better. Now I know what you're saying, Daniel. Didn't I just see that as an ad in one of those Times Square billboards? No, you didn't. I just shot it right there in front of you, right? And you can do the same. Now, don't have sticker shock. Can you see how much this lantern costs? No, it's not that expensive. Questions so far? No. Yes.
How would you handle this if they had glasses on?
Oh boy, do you have glasses? Yeah, good.
I could borrow
Well, if you borrow my glasses. So how would I handle if they had glasses? So the trick to shooting glasses, not have a reflection.
Swap spaces. Just swap. Never shoot.
Oh, yeah?
Right, but it's not gonna, it's okay. All right,
You're welcome,
I need to do
everybody.
a headshot. Hold on. Let me get in the character.
Yeah. Okay, channel like Channel like you kneel to no man. Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Where's this top off the top of my head?
Yeah, you're lucky. I learned that
All
from
right,
my mentor.
so we can see, yes, you did a good job. You can see actually that we've got a little, because you can see I have really thick glasses. We are getting a little bit in the edge here. And so if you didn't have crazy thick glasses like mine, you would see there's no reflection in the lens. The trick to shooting glasses is basically the angle the light comes in, right? So the angle of the light, if it comes down, it'll, light moves in a straight line, right? So if it hits the glasses and then like this, right, then it'll go like that and it misses the lens. But if it's at an angle like this, it hits the glasses, then goes into the lens. Does that make sense? So honestly, it's as simple as just looking. And it always seems like it'd be more complicated than it is, but most glasses these days have kind of flare resistance. It's not that big of a deal. But if you do start to have a reflection, usually you just need to either raise the light, or raising is almost always the case, or have the person bring their chin down a little bit. And that will set the reflection of the lens away from the subject. Does that make sense? It's actually somewhat hard to show it because it's hard to get a reflection in glasses, actually, in a lot of glasses.
So, question the chat's asking: would you light and measure the light differently for black and white?
So, somebody watched my other demo before. Would I light and measure the light differently for? I would not measure the light differently for black and white, but if you are planning on shooting in black and white, I do recommend that you light for black and white, because black and white is all about contrast, shape, and texture. What we have here is not that, right? We've got basically flat mush, but in color, that looks great, This is a beautiful color shot. In black and white, it's gonna look to nothing. I mean, I can make it black and white, but what if it looks good and I just said it didn't? So that's gonna make it black and white. All right,
I'm putting out a tip jar.
I know. Make sure you guys tip Seth. He likes black and white cookies. No, that's me. I like black and white cookies. And Charleston Chew, by the way.
You said you liked Charleston Chew once on a stream, and we got shipped an entire case from somebody.
Yeah, so thank you again for the Charleston Chews. They were delicious.
They were in the freezer for like 3 years. We never got through them.
No. A frozen Charleston Chew? Oh, so good.
Yeah, dentists love it.
Just pulls your fillings right out. All right, so you see that's kind of flat, right? So if you're going to do black and white and you have flat light, we're going to have to like punch it up. But what we could do, oh, look at that. Maybe it's Maybelline. So if I was shooting, if I knew it was going to be black and white, I would make it a little bit more contrasty. And the simplest way to make this more contrasty is to raise my shadow and to move the light a little closer. So basically, move the light closer to her. So when you put the light closer to your subject, that makes the fall off more rapid, right? The closer the light is to the subject, the faster it falls off, right? And yes, it gets brighter. When you raise it up a little bit, we're going to create contrast, right? Because now our light's above her, right? So it's going to be throwing shadow this way, and it's closer. This time I won't forget that I took it off TTL, so I'll put it back on TTL. When you're in black and white, you always have to zoom in a little bit too. All right. All right. Oh yeah, look at this little thing here. It tells me the distance. All right, here we go. Is that always on this thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, but it's not black and white because it didn't copy the.
Yeah.
Oh, because you made one up there, black and white. I can do it. No, it's okay. So with Capture One, generally the way you want to set it up, the way I have it set up, is it keeps the settings. Oh no, Command Shift.
Command Shift C, Command Shift C.
Yep. Not yep. Command Shift C. For some reason I hit Option Shift. Beam. Okay. So the way that Capture One usually works is once you put settings on an image, it will transfer them to the next one. So we'll shoot another one. Bring it down a little bit. Look all like.
Eric Zoolander?
Yes. Exactly. Right. So you see how it stayed black and white and she got even goofier? That's like that's the nature of it. So basically it'll carry it through, but it didn't carry through because Seth had made the adjustment up here, just in case you were curious why it didn't happen. So yeah, see, we can see, all right, so let's do a serious one. Should we shoot vertical?
Oh.
I heard the kids are shooting vertical these days. You know how
Go
many
open
years
gate?
it took me?
You do an open gate?
Open gate. I'm shooting open gate. It took me years to get used to shooting horizontal. Now they're all shooting vertical again. Hey, look at this. All right. This is going to screw me up next time for the thumbnail. Yeah. All right. We can see now we have a little more contrast, and now I might kick in. Yep. All right, so let's say that you've got the other specially made reflector, and you're like, I have everything I need. No, you don't. This silver reflector, handcrafted, painted by Seth on the roof of the building in Manhattan.
Sure. Actually, no, that one's a parking lot because we
No,
needed it really
this
quick.
is a parking lot.
Ooh.
You can see the tire tracks on it.
But in all seriousness, that's not silver paint. That's chrome. It has micro mirrors in it, and that's why it works.
Yeah.
So you're looking around.
Yeah. So what I did was I kept the light. So if you notice the first time I did it, I had it in real close to her chin. I was kind of kicking. I was trying to fill in all under her chin. But remember, I said I wanted contrast. So this time I brought it down over here, and I was just really kicking it back up into her eyes. How did I know exactly? Just a little experiment and a little experience, right? Just kind of seeing it. This light is very forgiving. You can do a lot with it. If you were using like a beauty dish, it would be tricky to get all the bouncing going on. That's another reason why I love this light when you just have one light source. Sure. Comparison before or after? There you go. What's the question? How do you...
Question in the chat is there a default setting for brightness or color on an LCD screen when you're to show accurate results on display?
Is there a default
When you're
setting for the brightness and color? Yeah, I mean, basically my laptop. So whenever you're using your laptop, you want to make sure you do the whole color space setup thing. I usually go all the way as bright, then down 3 clicks. Somebody told me to do that, and that's basically what I've been doing forever, and it works for me. But when I'm actually doing retouching and stuff, I sit at my actual monitor in my office where I have the lights basically dimmed and I have color correct, a big 4K monitor in front of me. But you know, when you're shooting, you want to get it as close as possible. That's the other thing about shooting raw, right? Is we can make some minor adjustments, but you want it to look as clean as possible while we're creating. So yeah, I go all the way as bright, then 3 down, and just make sure that your color space, you know, you make the custom color space like when you first get your MacBook. All right. Horizontal is better, right? Another question. Could you read it for me, please? I have to go horizontal again.
How do you deal with the light being too strong on a forehead, especially bald people?
I wouldn't know.
Having shot Daniel plenty of times,
So, you know what glasses were really reflective? The Muppets. Remember that? Okay. So, all right. So, I was just talking to you about this. Reflections, so brightness, are basically a reflection of your light source. So if you are having glare, right, on somebody's forehead, which is what I'm assuming you're talking about, not just that if it's too bright on their head, then it's dark down here, then your light's in a weird position. So move it more in front of them. If it's that you're getting glare on their forehead and it's shining, you have 2 options. One is more diffusion. Diffusion will break up any specular highlights, which is what glare is. Or if you're still getting it, you need to use a bigger light source because, again, it's a reflection, so it'll spread it out bigger. So you don't use a little point source on somebody if they have a shiny head. And obviously, dab a little, you like those rice paper, those pieces of rice paper with the little powder on them? Those are good. Okay. You know, for your makeup tips, you know, if you like to. And usually people will allow you to do that. Yes, sir.
Is there anything here you do differently when photographing a man versus a woman?
Do I do anything differently, man versus woman? Not usually. Typically, men take shadows better as far as the archetype, right? So if you're photographing a male subject, oftentimes shadows are more forgiving, like people are more used to seeing them on men. So if you want to shoot in a more masculine way, having more shadow is works. But if you have somebody whose face can take it, then obviously, like Marissa's got a good chiseled face, we can hit her with a lot of shadow, it still looks good, right? I kind of base it on the shape of the face and what I'm trying to get. If somebody's got more of a rounded face, throwing a lot of shadow under their chin often will make it look bad, whether they're male or female, right? So in that case, you want to kind of flatten things out. So I would go more by the shape of the face. If they're strong jaw, strong structure, and you want that type of effect, do get more shadow on the face, right? If they're more of a rounded face or you want a bit of a softer look, then have less.
So Daniel actually has
And I
a
have
few versions of photographing men versus women
Mm-hmm.
on this channel. So if you want, you can go look back at a few years of that.
That is true. And in those, I actually photograph men and women, like a man and a woman at the same time, and I shoot each one in each other's light to show like what the difference would be. But that was the crib notes. Is that what they call it? Crib notes? Cliff notes? Yeah. I'm just going to use this one light source because I'm too lazy to change it. So let's come over here. So we were talking about shadow. Okay. So if we want to create a little more shadow, we can move the light more or less to one side. And see, the thing with the lantern is it's going to throw a lot of light. That's why I put it almost behind her. If there's a regular softbox, I might have put it here, but this is actually going to kick our light this way. And if she turns her face towards it slightly, we're going to get a bit of shadow on the side of her face. But I can tell you, because it's so big and the way it works, it's still going to be fairly gentle. I will change this eventually. I'm just being lazy. Okay, I'm zooming in. By the end, I get all the way to 120. I'm at 24 to 120. That's how I kind of do it. Each step, I get a little closer. When I reach 120, I'm done. So we're at 78.3 now if you want to take notes. All right. Bring your face this way a little bit. I'm still in TTL. I'm in black and white so we can see shadow there. All right, I'm going to get rid of the black and white by R, right? So Command R resets everything. So we can see that this is now a lot more shadowy. It's kind of messy. This isn't really a great shot. We can work with this though. We can have Marissa work towards it a little bit more and really extend the chin out a little bit so we can really enhance the shadow. Yeah, we can do that. Then chin up a little bit right there. Yeah. And we can start to play around with more shadow on her face. See how her face can take it a little bit better? Let me actually do this too. You know, if we're going shadowy, let's change the modifier. We're switching midstream. That's what I do around here. Questions? Well, I'm just going to switch to a smaller modifier. Does anybody else want to see anything else with the lantern? Because once I break it down, it's like 87 years to build this thing again. No, okay. For some reason, I only brought one speed ring with me. Yeah, let's do that. Why not? I was going to build my little tiny softbox, but we got time. Oh, it won't cover the light. So this is a strip box. Strip boxes are good when we want to create contrast because we have more control over where the light falls. This one also has an egg crate or a grid in front of it, which is going to help, again, the spread of the light. It also looks cooler. So if you're doing like BTS and stuff, like grids, you know, come on. I mean, it does. So, you know, grids have gotten very affordable. They used to cost more than the softbox, but now generally that's not the case. Yeah, they're all hand sewn. All right, when was it? Light Forms or something like that was the only one that made them. Ugh. All right, come forward. Good. All right, let's do this. Pro tip. Huh? Listen. I know. It's impressive. Okay. Strip back. Texture. Grid. Let's just see what we get. I'm just pointing at her. I'm just going crazy. For some reason, Marissa keeps getting taller. Right, she gets more confident. Good. Okay. There we go. Now we're getting more shadow. Now we're controlling the shadow a little better. I didn't love the first one, mostly because all the brightness behind her didn't work, right? It was distracting. So with here, by using the grid, we've got this transition from dark to light. It's overexposed still, but we have a little bit more of a kind of a scene that works better. And that's one of the things that is important, right? If you're just working with one light, you got to consider that. The lantern, you probably at the beginning were like, oh, all I ever need is a lantern, Daniel. That's really good. But the thing is, it throws light everywhere. So it's light in the background. And if we don't want the background to be lit, we need control. And this is where you get the strip banks. You might only use one light, but you might use different modifiers depending on the vibe you're going for. So this is going to keep the light off the background a little bit because the nature of the strip bank, but also because it has the grid, which, I don't know what I was doing there, the grid, which narrows the spread. I thought that was going to look better than it did, so we'll just cut that part of the video. Now, here's a little thing for you guys. Over here, I'm looking at this, and I can see my adjustments. I can see it's overexposed, right? If you're not sure like how overexposed it is or what you want it to look like, one thing that we can do is we can, if I can find my adjustment, we can grab our exposure slider. And now this is going to change the exposure of the whole thing. We're not overly worried about this looking perfect. What we're worried about is the fact that her highlight, right, her brightest part, her skin tone is too bright. So I'm going to look at this part of her face here, right?
You can select just her, you know.
Yeah, I know, but I want to show people how to do it. All right, and we're going to slide it down until her skin tone looks about right, which is about there, right? When we see that, we can see that we went down at 0.6 tenths of a stop. We'll reset this because, again, Capture One will repeat that if we leave it. I'm going to come over to my light. I'm going to turn it off of TTL, and I'm going to turn it down 6 tenths of a stop. And then we're going to take another shot. See, now we've got a cleaner exposure, right? Also, it makes her hair go back. It works. And you can see that because of the shape of Marissa's face, because of the nature of it, that shadow doesn't look bad, right? And we can work the shadow. If you wanted a shadow, but it was too dark, you could come back in. You could use the opposite. This one, by the way, has two sides. You could use this white side. And if I put it in real close, I'm just going to kill the shadow. It's going to be flat. We don't want that. But I can back it up a bit, as long as I'm sure that it's going to get some of the light. To the guy. There we go. Yeah, we fill in just a tiny bit, right?
The grid's even, though.
Yeah, the grid's definitely in. It's harder to get it when you're by yourself because Eric's not helping me, you know. Get that reflector in there, Eric.
Eric.
All right. All right.
Be communal. Clap for Eric.
All right. This is where we test if Eric was paying attention. Because I literally just did it, right? You all saw me do it, right? All right, Eric. Eric got his mask on now.
Yeah, this doesn't look. This isn't a good look for you, buddy. I'm sorry. The ski mask next to a woman not really gonna help.
I'm just gonna say,
on Valentine's Day,
if you're gonna put on a mask to cover your face and hide your identity, don't wear a shirt with your name on it. All right.
Get in there. Get in there.
All right. Here we go. Boom. All right. All right. It looks exactly like the way I did it. So did we really need Eric? Who knows, you know? Of course we did. Yeah, let's take the grid off to show you guys the difference. So a couple things are going to happen. Remember, I switched it to manual. So I'm going to take the reflector away for a second because I got to reestablish my exposure. I'm going to take the grid off. So now the light's going to spread out more. And because of that, and I want the background to have that gradation, I have to consider the position of my light again. I'm going to take my light and I'm going to swing it slightly this way. This is going to do two things. One, it's going to feather the light. So when you're like talking about something, oh, you know, I feather my light. You know, so feathering means using the edge of the light, right? How do you shoot? I use feather light. You know, people used to feather their hair in the 80s. All right, so that's perfect. And now Eric's going to come in with the reflector. Okay, I'm going to put it back in TTL. Nope, that's the test button. All right, here we go.
Eric, hi.
Yep.
Hey, get in there. Get in there. There you go.
Yeah. Chin up a tiny bit right there. Okay. Okay. So we can see it's a bit bright again because I put it, you know, back in TTL. So I'm going to come back in. This time I'm just going to eyeball it because, you know, that's how I roll. I'm just going to turn it down 4/10 of a stop. By the way, if you were curious, the grid ate about a stop of light because the light itself dropped a stop in power when we took the grid off. There we go. All right. And now we got all the awesomeness for half the price. And by the way, if you happen to be on a set, you've got a client. All right, I'm gonna do it without the bounce. All right, thanks, Eric. You'll get a check. Never. All right. Oh, now they're coming. You're gonna leave it over there where I can't reach it? Thanks, Eric. All right. Okay. All right, here we go. This is without the bounce. Now, this is the true test to see if he was bouncing or not. Now, normally I wouldn't do this because I would just leave you guessing, but, you know, Seth wants us to, you know, we're being transparent here. All right, chin up a bit. Good. We're going to see the difference. Yeah, see? And this is the beauty of it, right? The fact that it was just so subtle that it just felt right and natural is exactly perfect, right? Oftentimes with the reflector, people will overdo it, right? And it just looks really flat. But here, he came in and just filled in a bit so that her hair has texture, right? And we can see into the shadow, but it doesn't look like a second light source is there. It still looks very natural. It still looks like there's just one light. Does that make sense? Good job, Eric. Well, that was a weak set of claps. You only get so many claps, person. All right, any questions while we're trying to drink coffee here and hanging out? No questions. So easy. Oh, I have a question. Okay, perfect. All right, let's do one more thing. Let's go even tighter with the light and try to really isolate our subject. So now I'm going to switch to my small softbox. Oh, the white Magnum with the grid. Fine. All right, we're going to use a hard light. I know we'll be using softboxes all day. All right, let's do a white Magnum with the grid. So let's say that you're really cool. Now, I'm not counting on that to be the case.
Don't ding this.
I'm not gonna ding it. Whoop. All right, I got it. This is a Magnum reflector. Wow, it's so perfect. No dents. So beautiful. This is a Profoto Magnum reflector. It is my favorite light shaper for beauty. This one happens to be white on the inside. You can't see on the inside. Traditionally, the Magnum was silver, which was a little bit punchy, especially if you were using things like cosmetics that had a lot of titanium dioxide in it that would really reflect. So you'd sometimes have some issues with it with angles. The white helps kind of creamy, makes it a little more creamy. I said creamy a lot today. It must have been the soup I had earlier. And we also have a grid. This right here is a honeycomb grid. I almost said Fruit Loops. Thinking cereal over here. All right, I'm gonna put that over there very gently because it's white. And we're gonna use this to create more of, we're gonna go back into the beauty shot because we're gonna create, now, you know what, let's do like more of a, what's that painter?
Rembrandt? Perhaps?
No, Picasso. All right. All right, come forward a little bit. Right there. Yeah. So we're gonna create a little bit more of a contrasty light with this because we can. Although I wonder, I don't know, do we like contrasty light? I think we do. Sometimes when you're using a more kind of hard light like this, is more punchy, and you really want to get it aimed exactly right, you can turn on what's called the modeling light.
You could have told me.
And then if I did, then it wouldn't have been as funny. No, I'm sorry, Marissa, I didn't know you were gonna look at it. All right. So again, we have lights on in the space, so it's not, we're not looking at it perfectly, but yeah, if you don't mind, just for a second. All right, so that's going to dim the space. Don't look directly at it, Marissa. Okay, perfect. Now we can see where it falls, so I can actually direct her to this way, chin up a tiny bit. There we go. I'll turn them on and off in a second. What do we want to do? Actually, let's do a turn this way. Sorry, turn this way. Right there, that's good. Oh, okay, sorry. That wasn't very nice, but you know, I'm not a nice person, let's be honest. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember I wasn't in TTL. All right, back in TTL. Oh yeah, that's nice. Yeah, bring your chin up so we can really get the sun-kissed look. Boom. All right. That's really the sun-kissed, like that's a blinky look. And you can see, again, yeah, she's really, so I'm gonna kill this so you don't get blinded. Thank you, Seth. You can bring the lights back up. Bring your face this way. Okay, good. Right there, here we go. All right, so we're gonna get a baseline here. There we go. So you can see this has that real, like almost sunlight quality, but you also see there's no like glaring, remember there was a question earlier about glare? You know, we're not getting any real glare. You can actually see the specular highlight right here in the center of her forehead, but it's really diffused out because the inside of this modifier is white, right? So the whole thing is more diffuse. Diffusion has to do with highlights. That's important. Hardness and softness has to do with shadows. Okay, does that make sense? So here we have a real punchy, almost like end of the day light coming through the window kind of light, and it just falls off really quickly, right? But we can also, I haven't done this in a while, so we'll do it. If we have her look, yeah, that's good. Look this way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. First, we'll do it this way. Let's go for a moodier thing because I feel like it, right? That's going to throw the light across her like that, right? And then we can actually come here. And what's nice about a hard light like this is you can see how you get this beautiful shape like of her nose and like the top of her lip. Like you really get that texture, right? And then we can bring that reflector in. Tune up a little bit. Right there. Powerful. Boom. And we can fill in a bit. That might be too much. Let's go silver maybe. Silver further away. Yeah, I like that better. Yeah, see, we just have that little bit of a catch. So you can do that, you know? Or, this is what I was thinking actually. It's kind of a fun thing to do here. If I take this light, so I'm going to have you face the audience. If we take the light and we bring it like this. No, maybe I don't. Yeah, we'll do it. Okay. I don't know. Should we do it for you guys? I think you should. I think they deserve it.
I mean, they sat through 47 minutes of you.
Okay.
They deserve it.
All right, then. Okay.
They're asking if you'll be at WPPI.
I will be at WPPI. WPPI is the convention coming up in Las Vegas. I'll be at the casino. Also at the Adorama booth on Tuesday at 3:15. So if you guys want to go to Las Vegas, you could see what you're seeing here, but worse because it'll be at a trade show and loud. No, it'll be awesome. Oh, wow. No, so turn your face away so I don't get any light in your nose. All right, so we're going to do a profile shot, right? Perfect. So hold there for a second. I want to do something. Bring your chin up just a smidge. Okay, so she's going to have the light coming from behind her, right? A little profile. But then, okay. Do you want to, all right. This has been your moment. It's been building up. You know what to do with this, right? Don't screw it up. Oh, no, that's perfect. Look at you. It's a ringer. All right, I'm going to turn the modeling light on so you can see better. Perfect. Here we go. Marissa, look powerful. Boom. All right, and now we've created 2 light sources, right, with 1 light. Thank you, sir. All right. I mean, what else can you do in life? This is it, right? Now, and because this is white, by the way, this Magnum is white on the inside, I think we're actually getting detail even in our hair. We're not even completely blowing out all of our hair, which is really nice. Normally with a silver, like a hard silver light, you'll kind of blow out some of your highlights. I think we're pretty clean, actually. Yeah. I mean, all right. Now I'm gonna walk off stage like Prince. No, all right. You know, in Purple Rain, like every song, he would just like run off the stage after.
Yes, because when I think of Prince, I think slouching away. Yes. Amazing posture of Daniel Norton.
You know, it's my version of Prince. Duke, I guess. I don't know. All right.
But just to give you guys an idea, if you only have a light and you're by yourself, you can put them near a white wall or something like that. You don't need to worry about where do I put this reflector, whatever. You have a giant reflector somewhere.
Right. Imagine that there was a big wall here, right? That's exactly what would happen. You know, when if this was a wall, this is not going to reflect very well because it's paper, but we could put the light here and shoot this way. You could do that kind of thing. Now, if we use the grid, it would be really tricky to get the light bounced in. But now this is the point in the demo where I'm feeling overly confident. And you know, why not? The trick to all this is you keep shooting until you kind of pass the good point, right? We get all the good shots out. Why not try it if we think we can get a good shot here? So I'm going to put a grid on. Plus, you know, I have a grid. I want to charge for it. So you got to use it at least once.
So the chat's asking, what's the white bounce of the strobe because it looks cold in the bounce diffuser. If you remember, everything that your light bounces off of or through affects the light, right?
Right.
So a random white board from an art store might not be color calibrated. just gonna throw that out there, right?
Right. But when Seth makes them, they're perfect.
Well, yeah. Not for nothing. Go for the Elmer's makes them closest.
Don't use those dollar store boards. That's not what we're saying.
Well, dollar store boards are mostly styrofoam, which is where you run into an inconsistency problem. But if you go through a brand like Elmer's, it has a consistency, and it is actually about 4,900,000.
Try again, sir.
49,000.
Silver side.
Yes, please. All right. This is with the grid. We are in TTL, so in theory, I shouldn't have to do anything. Boy, my life is easy. All right. Marissa does not look as sure of herself this time. Be sure of yourself.
Okay.
All right. Chin up a little bit. There we go. Oh, look at that. Interesting. Okay, so the main difference, which is what I knew was going to happen, is the spread, right? So the background is darker. However, I'm not sure. What's that?
Cheek Spencer.
Yeah, in her cheek and everything, right? I actually don't like it as much, though. Do you like it? Do you like it better? I like it worse. I think it's too contrasty for me.
Yeah, but that's less contrast than a black grid would be.
Well, yeah, 100% less contrast than a black grid would be. But for me, I feel like to get the darker background, it wasn't worth the sacrifice. But that comes down to your taste, right? I feel like the hair is a little bit less even in this one. So for me personally, I like the first one better. And if I wanted the background to be darker, I would just move the whole set this way. You know, so, but we have both options. Thank you. It's always worth it to you know, try different things. Okay, any other questions? So we shot with the grid, without the grid. Nothing. It was so clear, or it was so confusing. Yes, in the back. What if I put it on the floor? The light? The light would look, if I put the, okay, so if I had put the light down here, it would look very unnatural. That's why we want to, generally if we're lighting somebody, and especially if we only have one light source, we want to keep the light source above them, or at the very least at eye level, because anything below is going to look very unnatural, because in life, light is very rarely coming from below you. So that's why we don't put it below. But that's a good question. Other questions?
And even if it was coming from below, there'd be a balance to it, right? So when you see light bouncing off of a sidewalk coming up, there's still reflection off of other things in the environment that fill it in, so it isn't like a monster light. So it's not that it's coming from one direction, even when it's below.
Yes.
Maybe I missed it, but what were you trying to do with the grid?
So with the, okay, right, sorry. I quickly got into the fact that I didn't love it and didn't explain what we're trying to do. So if we notice the grid, the difference here, some of the main differences, well, obviously there's a difference in her face, right, and where the light spreads, but the main difference I was going for was to get the background darker, because the grid reduces the spread of the light. So basically it was keeping it off the background, but it also made her face get a little bit less light on it, so it changed the shape of it slightly. It also made it so we have more of a hot spot here, where the hair is more even in the top one. So the trade-off of getting the background darker wasn't enough for me to like that. Now, if you really needed the background to be darker, but you like the top shot, you could just move the whole set this way. That would also work for you, you know. I just didn't do that because I'm lazy, you know. Plus I leave that to your imagination. But that's all I was trying to do, was get the light off the background and show it because, you know, I like stuff. Other questions? Yes.
It's all for the studio settings, right? What if I try to shoot on the street and I try to keep this shadows too, like.
What if you're trying to shoot on the street? Yeah. Well, you have to think about the light that's there, right? And like if you were like, let's say in the sun, it would be nearly impossible to be able to like, let's say overpower it unless you have really strong lights. But what you could do is, let's say if you were out in the street and there was the sun, this light could be the sun, right? And you could take your individual flash and put it here to fill in, right? That might be how you set that up. Or put somebody in the shade and then you can dial your settings in so that it gets darker, right? Typically if we're outside and it's daytime, it's gonna be hard to get rid of all the light. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult. So it's not something you necessarily would wanna do. It's more, flash outside, that situation is more like a fill or a drama.
What kind of flash should I have for the outside? What kind of power?
You could use this outside. This is what, 500 watt seconds to be enough outside, for sure. Yeah, you wouldn't get the sky dark with 500 watt seconds, would you? Yeah. It would get dark, it wouldn't go black. You need a lot of power for that. Other questions? Yes.
I was just going to say, it might be more logical to carry a reflector or folding reflector outside.
It might be logical to carry a reflector outside. That is absolutely true. Yes, having a reflector outside is very useful, yes. Okay.
Did you have a bigger hotspot because of the grid, or did TTL made a different light power from the other photo? What?
Right. Well, it's not that the hotspot is bigger. It's that right. Well, it is a hotspot, but what a grid does is it cuts the spread of the light, right? So basically what's happening is, here, I'll show you on the head. What the grid's doing, right, but they're talking about the image. So We can see up here in the are you on the, no, you're not on the screen, so I can't show it.
You know, you can see how much it cuts.
Yeah, exactly. So that same thing's happening on the back of her head. So if you, sorry, yeah, can you show, sorry, I didn't realize it wasn't on the screen, I'm the one. So you can see basically what Seth demonstrated. You can see here, you got more spread, and then with the grid, that second shot, it was more like a hot spot, right, that fades out. So that's exactly what he just showed there. You can see on the background, I guess. We have lots of things going on. So same thing's happening on the back of her head, you know?
Maybe we should bounce it into a board. Just raw head, bounce to a board.
Yeah, next time. All right. I'll be back next week. I know, it's exciting. Next week, we're doing product photography. We've got we had a challenge to photograph a Casio keyboard, a very fancy Casio keyboard, in a different way. So we're gonna bring in a band, kind of, and well, they're only this big, but and we're gonna shoot. You'll see if you come or watch. So next week, same bat time. What's that? The 19th or 19th of February. If you you know, have a good Valentine's Day this weekend, you know, guys. If you only have one light, treat it well. That's all you need sometimes. So this is Marissa Dot Roper, not Marissa Dash Roper or just Marissa Roper. Seth is last X-Witness. The X is silent. I'm Daniel Norton. Make sure that you do the things. Where is it? Oh, there's like a QR code or something. Well, I don't know. There's like a QR code.
All right, look. Hit this one for all the other demos that aren't Daniel and everything else that's out of this channel. And this is the events. I feel like a weatherman. This is the event schedule.
Right. Event schedule and the demos. QR code those things, and you'll have everything you ever need in life. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.